Good afternoon. Welcome to my backyard. My name's John Ross. I was the former chef owner of Ross's North Fork restaurant for many years in Southold. Now I'm retired and enjoying cooking for my family and friends in my backyard. This is the second or the third in a series of backyard cooking for the Sachem Library. And it's been very exciting to be able to do this. Today, we're going to cook a recipe of pork tenderloin with grilled pears, blackberry sauce. And it's a very practical backyard item, and I think you'll find it's delicious. So let's get going right away. We're going to move over and talk about the pork. Okay, this is what they call pork tenderloin, not to be confused with pork loin. The pork tenderloins are small, they're very lean, very little fat, and they come in a package of 2. They're equivalent to the beef filet mignon. And what I've done here is I put a little dry rub on them. A dry rub is equivalent, some chefs call it a dry marinade, but it's just a mixture of dried spices. And I did this a little ahead so that it could sit for a half hour or so on the meat. And it just includes salt, pepper, chili powder, salt, pepper, chili powder, paprika, and that's about it. And sprinkle that on and rub it in. A little cayenne pepper too to give it a little spice. So we're going to get going right away on this, and I'm going to paint these tenderloins with canola oil so they don't stick. And I'm going to put them on my hot grill. Get these well coated. Okay, now back here I have my grill. It's very hot, but as soon as I get these going, I'm going to have to cut down the heat just after they get a little color in them. Do that. I'm going to put on some gloves here. Okay. Get my tongs. Okay, I'm going to close those down. I'm going to cut the heat down a little bit using the ventilators. And those we can leave alone. They're going to take approximately 25 minutes, but as all professional chefs do, I'm going to use an instant read meat thermometer and get them to 145 degrees internal temperature. I'll show you that a little bit later. Now, while that's cooking, we're going to start the sauce. And the sauce is maybe the trickiest part of this demonstration. It's not hard, it just takes a little bit of care. And we start by taking half a cup of sugar and put it in a saucepan. And if I were in the house, I would put this on high heat on the stove. Outside, if you are using a gas grill that has a little side burner, you can use that. At any rate, you need high heat. So I lit up my smaller charcoal grill, and I'm going to put the pan right in the coals. I'm doing that because it needs a lot of heat. And you see it's just the dry sugar, and we're going to cook it until the sugar turns into liquid. It'll turn into a liquid, and then it'll turn golden in color. And right at that point, we're going to add balsamic vinegar. In French cookery, they call that a gastrique. And you'll see it makes a fantastic base for the sauce. So while that sugar is starting to heat up, we're going to turn our pork. Should be starting to color on one side. Nice grill marks, and you see it's not burning, it's just cooking nicely. And it'll cook rapidly too. One of the beauties of pork tenderloin is it doesn't take all day to cook, and you don't need to use low heat. I'm keeping this right about 400 degrees, or as close as that as I can for a char grill, and that'll be fine. All right, now I got to keep my eye on that sugar. Better put my glove back on too. And we use equal amounts of vinegar and sugar. You don't have to use balsamic. You can use red wine vinegar or cider vinegar. For this recipe, it gives you a very rich sauce for the blackberries. So we're going to set that aside, and we're going to clean down here. And you can see the sugar, it takes a while to get going. Once it goes fast. You don't really have to stir it. I'm just checking it. And that needs just a few more minutes. And you can see I have blackberries for the sauce. And I have some chicken stock. I have some blackberry jelly that's going to sweeten it a little bit. And I also have some cinnamon stick and cloves that are going to cook with it. Okay. This pork tenderloin weighs about 2 pounds total, the 2 pieces, and makes a fine meal for 4 people. You obviously can cook just one of those for 2 people. And pork doesn't have a lot of flavor, so the rub that I put on it is going to spice it up, and the sauce is going to give it nice moisture and a beautiful flavor. Okay, that sugar's getting ready to cook now. It seems to take forever, and then it just goes right fast. And while we're waiting on that, I'm going to set up our pears. We're going to, at the end of this recipe, we're going to grill the pears. And so we'll get those ready right now. These are Bartlett pears. They can't be too ripe. They have to be firm enough to stand that grill. Okay. Check on that sugar again. And it's just starting to melt in the bottom. Won't be long. So we'll go back to the pears. Just going to take a little paring knife, cut the cores out, cut off any stem end. Lose track of that sugar. Peaches, pears, apples, all do a beautiful job on a char grill. They just brings out some delicious flavors in them. Okay, we're gonna put that in the garbage, and then I'm gonna take my oil. Uh-oh, sugar's starting to go. We got to turn to that. Now you can see it's just starting to caramelize. You'll see that it sticks to your spoon, and not only sticks, but it'll turn into a hard rock candy. But don't worry, as it cooks, it'll loosen up. And you see that golden color? It's coming around. It'll go quickly now. I'm just going to make a real quick turn on that meat. Oh boy, that is looking absolutely delicious. And we'll get back to our sugar. This takes a little patience, but you see now how it's turning into a golden color and all the lumps are coming out of it. Now, you can't burn it either. That's just about ready. When you dump the vinegar in, it produces a reaction that's kind of explosive. You want to keep your face and your eyes away from it when you dump the vinegar in. And the initial thing that's going to happen is that it turns that sugar syrup into a solid. And you'll think, oh no, what did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. You just have to let it cook. And with my makeshift stove here, I think I'm going to put the little grill on it. The only reason I buried it in the coals was to get that real high heat. Now we just need to cook it. And at this stage, it's going to take about maybe 10 minutes. You can see it's still very lumpy. Don't get your nose too close to that. The fumes from the vinegar are very strong at this point as it cooks them off. Okay. Now, while we're waiting, we'll get our other elements ready. Next, the chicken stock's going to go in, and that'll be also a half a cup. Easy to remember, half cup sugar, half cup vinegar, half cup chicken stock. And after we get that, we're going to put half of a lemon, rind and all, in it. And while we've got the lemon out, we're going to rub those pears so they don't turn brown on us. So we put the lemon juice. Very good. Let me rinse my hands off here. You can see outdoors sanitation is very important, just like it is indoors. And I use a bucket with a little bleach and lukewarm water as a way to rinse my hands. And I also use gloves when I'm going to be not cooking things any further. Let's get rid of some of this mess. Now, you look at this now and you say, oh my God, this can't be good. But it is. And the sugar, of course, is not sweet after it's caramelized. And this is starting to turn into total liquid. Oops, I gotta cool down my meat a little bit. Okay. It's amazing what you can do with char grills if you're a little bit creative and inventive. I'm using these green eggs, but the Weber grills work very well also. You just have to be careful to control the heat. Now I'm going to, this should be just about ready to add everything else. Like I said, the French call that a gastrique. Okay, we're going to add the chicken stock. We're going to add the cinnamon stick and the cloves, like 5 or 6 cloves, just 1 cinnamon stick. I left the spoon in there so it tries to cook some of that sugar out of it. And I'm going to leave that alone now for a little bit. And then at the end of it, I'll add the jelly. Whoops, forgot the lemons, didn't I? Add half a lemon, juice and rind and all. At the end of it, we're going to strain it and then finish it with the berries and the jelly. Okay. Now back to my pears. What do I do with my brush and my oil? Right in front of me. Right in front of me. Okay, I'm going to brush these nice coating of oil so they brown and they don't stick. Okay. And that's cooking. Check our pork. You can see I touch it with my fingers, and if it's real spongy, it means it's still quite rare. This is not far off from being fully cooked. And I'm going to turn it once more time. You can see we have a fair amount of color on that side. I'm going to put my pears in here too. Quickly get those flames put out by cutting off the airflow. There we go. Yeah, it's simmering real nicely now. When we finish this meal, we're going to serve it up with a couple of things that we did cook inside, and it goes particularly well with sweet potatoes. In this case, I made stuffed sweet potatoes, and I just roasted them for 45 minutes at 400 degrees, cut off the tops, scooped out the flesh, and mixed it with a little cream cheese. And I seasoned it with the Chinese 5-spice powder, which I particularly like because of that cinnamony flavor. And then these just go back in the oven to heat up before we eat. And then some green beans are blanched off here to complete the meal. Meat has to be getting very close now. Just a little bit more. Pull out one of the pork tenderloins, the smaller of the two. I'm going to take my instant read thermometer and jam it right in the center and check the temp. And that's just perfect. It's right now just passing 140. And for pork tenderloin, you don't want to overcook it. If it's like 170, it's going to be a little dry and too well done. So this is just right. The bigger piece might need a couple more minutes. I'm going to put that on a tray. Okay, we're going to pull the big one out. Got nice coloring. And we're going to give that a quick temperature check. Oh, perfect. 145. You want to let those rest a little bit before you carve them anyway, but they're good. And now we're going to turn those pears. Okay, I'm going to cook just a little bit more on that side as we finish up the sauce. It's a hot pan, I'm just letting that cool for just a second. Okay. I'm going to put in roughly a quarter cup. It's a nice spoonful of jelly. Okay, now we're going to strain that. I have a little strainer and a bowl here. And I want to make sure I push all the juices through that. There's still some jelly there. What we can do now is put that back in the saucepan. If we're not going to eat right away, we can reheat that. We're going to add the berries, blackberries. And one more small thing that we didn't do was to do a little bit of thickening, just a little thin. And so for that, I'm going to use a little cornstarch, just like a tablespoon of cornstarch, and a little cold water. As you know, you have to dissolve the cornstarch in the cold water first before you can thicken anything with it. The only way to dissolve that is with your finger, without getting lumps. So all I'm going to do is bring that sauce back to one more boil with everything in it, and then I'll just check it for seasoning, but it should be good. Okay, we're going to let that just come back up to heat. Now we've got to get our pears off. Put them in here first, transfer them over. Shut down my wheel. And we'll done with the exception of the sauce. And the sauce should just be coming to a boil now. This over here so it don't burn through the table. Okay, that's lightly thickened now. And just spoon a little bit off now for garnish. And very important to taste this right now. Delicious. Almost joke, but delicious. And that's it. All we have to do now is slice our pork tenderloins and put our sauce on the side, and dinner is all ready. Thank you.